Hi, it's Ian. As you know today that we're not doing any normal stuff because I'm at my friend's funeral. But what we have done, we've had a few things that Gary asked for on the channel. We've done his birthday and Pat Benatar, and another request he done for me is a band that we both grew up on, and that was Showaddywaddy. So the final programme for today will be the Showaddywaddy ranking that I did. So hope you enjoy it again, and just spare a thought for those who are suffering at the moment with cancer. It's a terrible thing. He took Gary far too young. He's only a year older than me, and it's very sad. Big Quo fan like myself, doesn't but just love music, so I'm sure he's creating chaos already upstairs. God bless you, Gary. Greetings, Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Wednesday Marathon, and it's sort of a very special one for me today because this is not just a viewer's request, it's for a friend of mine, Gary. Now Gary hasn't been very well. He's having some treatment at the moment, and I thought I would do this just to cheer you up, mate. And it's a band that you actually asked me to do, and it is Showaddywaddy. Now, if you're of a certain age, Showaddywaddy was this great little rock and roll revival band that was on a talent show called New Faces, which they won. I have had the pleasure of seeing these, and they are absolutely fantastic. If you like rock and roll, you're going to love these. They dress up as teddy boys. So they're from Leicester, which is just up the road from me, about an hour's run, and this is a band that was formed in 1973 by the amalgamation of two groups called Choi's and Golden Hammers. They played at the Foss Way pub in Leicester, which I know of, and they said that they discovered they enjoyed their same sort of music, so they decided to have a jam in, and then they permanently come together as Showaddywaddy. They had that unusual feature of two vocalists, two drummers, two guitarists, two bassists, and they won, as I said, the talent show New Faces, which was a big talent show. Many people from there went on to big stuff, not like today's talent programs. You think of people that have come off New Faces: Lenny Henry, Jim Davidson, amazing people. Now, this band have had 13 albums. A lot of them are covers of old songs from the 50s and 60s, but amongst that is their own stuff. So we're going to have a look at their 13 albums. This one's going to be a little bit different because how I've ranked these is what the content of the songs on the albums, and that's how I've done it. They're not bad. No bad albums. I thoroughly enjoy listening to them. I've only ever had a couple of albums, but because they're all on Spotify, it's great just to go and put them on now and again. I thoroughly enjoy doing this one because there's a lot of great covers. Some of them they didn't work, but 99.9% of these songs work, being put through the Showaddywaddy machine. So let's have a look at this. They've had different lineups. I mean, their original lead singer, Dave Bartram, he retired, but he's still involved with the band because he now manages them. The only one that's been there, I think, since the beginning is Romeo Challenger, one of the drummers. So I'll just go through them as we go, I think, today. This is the only, just tell you who's doing what. So, coming in at number 13 then, we have the 13th most current album. It's called Next Chapter, and it came out in 2016. So on here we've got bass and backing vocals Rod Dees, drums Romeo Challenger, guitars and vocals Paul Dixon, guitar, drums and backing vocals Rob Hewins, keyboards Don Loach, and vocals Andy Pelos. First track is the Silhouette song called Get a Job. It's okay, but it's very strange not hearing Dave's vocals, very distinctive vocals. They do a good job of it. Then we get a track by Arthur Alexander. This is my favourite song in here. It's a song that I really like anyway. It's called A Shot of Rhythm and Blues. Really good versions. Then we get a version of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers Why Do Falls. Sorry, I'm starting to sing Fall in Love. Not a bad version. It's really good. Then we get a Dion song, Kings of the New York Streets, and I don't mind that version. Reelin' and Rockin' Chuck Berry is pretty lame. It's not as good as Chuck Berry. It needs a little bit more oomph. Then we get Walk Into My Baby. Nat King Cole has done this, and the Fabulous Thunderbirds. Don't like this one very much at all. Then we get More Than I Can Bear. Bobby V song, Leo Sayers covered it. It's alright. Ladies Got a Hold on Me. Now, I couldn't find any information about this, so it may be one of theirs. I'm not quite sure, but it's okay. You're the One. Now, it's one of their own. I don't like that. The House is Rocking, a Stevie Ray version. It's not a bad version of a Stevie Ray Vaughan song. It's quite good. Then Nobody But Me. Nah, it's not a very good version of the Drifters song. Give me the Drifters version any day. What You Gonna Do About It? Doris Troy, really old song, and it's a better version of it. It's pretty good. Then we got Cool Jerk, which was a Capitals song, not a bad version. Dream with Your Song on their own, it's alright. And then they do this version of Sabre Dance. It's not a patch on Love Sculpture, but it's actually from Akram's ballet, Gayan, from 1942. That was the last track. It's an enjoyable album, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same without Dave Bartram, who retired. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, then coming in at number 12, got the 11th album from 2002. It's called Hey Rock and Roll. There's a few live bits on here, which was done at the Edinburgh Playhouse. So on here we've got Romeo Challenger on the drums, Dave Bartram doing the vocals, Al James, whose real name is Jeffrey Betts, on bass and vocals, Trevor Oakes, guitars, Rod Dees on the bass, Ray Martinez on guitar, and Danny Wilson on guitar. Opens up with Peter Gunn. I think we're on with that. I think that's a live sort of version. It's okay. Then they do the Shadows FBI. It's too fast, too rocky, doesn't sound right. Then we have Chantilly Lace, Big Bopper. It's okay. Then they do a jazzy version of Bebopalula by Gene Vincent. Then this Ain't That a Shame, Fats Domino, great track. They don't do a bad version of it. Then they do Dream Lover, Bobby Darin. That's alright, I like that. Rocket Robin. I haven't heard a bad version of this ever. Bobby Days was good. The original was good. Michael Jackson's is fantastic. I love Michael Jackson's version. Then we got The Girl Can't Help It, a great classic from Little Richard. Really good version. Then they do the classic Cliff Richard Move It. That's a really good version. It's my favourite cover on this album. Then they do Bye Bye Johnny. Best version of this, of course, is by Status Quo in my books, even better than Chuck Berry's. Then they have a classic version of a Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock, nothing wrong with that. Then we get I Hear You Knocking, Dave Edmunds, Smiley Lewis. Dave Edmunds is the best version of that one. Then we get Just Like Eddie, Heinz Burt, who was from in the Tornadoes, of course, Joe Meek. It's a good version. Something Else, it's alright. You get this little medley of Eddie Cochran, so you get Something Else, 20 Flight Rock, and The Weekend. Good version. Come On Everybody. Come On Everybody. Pretty good. And the album ends up with Moon Glows. No, it doesn't. There's another one. Two. Moon Glows version of the Sincerely. Nice harmonies in that. Book of Love. They do a really good job of this Mona Tones song. Only in the Lonely. Not a patch on Roy Orbison's. Kathy's Clown. Half decent version of the Everly Brothers song. Great Balls of Fire. That one's all right. Peggy Sue. A classic Buddy Holly song done really well. Reet Petite, Jackie Wilson. I don't like their version of it, but the only thing I do like of it is Dave singing on it. Then we get a lovely one of my favourite instrumentals from the 60s, Sleepwalk, by Santo and Johnny Farina. The Shadows did the best version of that. Tell Laura I Love Her, Ricky Valens. Now, I've never been a fan of this song, full stop, but this isn't a bad version of it. Run Around Sue with old Del Shannon. This is a great song, but not a patch on Del Shannon, although it's a bit better than Magnum's version. I've got another great song that I like, At the Hop, Danny and the Juniors, really good version. Then we get a live version of Hey Rock and Roll, talk about that later, and Rock and Roll Is Here to Stay. As I said at the beginning, it's hard to rank these albums, but this is just another really good rock and roll album. Some of their versions are not as good as the originals, but it's still an enjoyable album. I've played all these all the way through, didn't skip any tracks, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 11, we have the 12th album that was released in 2008, and it's the Sun album. Now this album features 18 songs originally recorded by artists assigned to the Sun record label. While some of these songs are quite well known, there's some really obscure stuff on here that no one's heard, and I hadn't heard. I had to really do some research, but it was really good. So on here in the band we've got Romeo Challenger, Dave Bartram, Al James, Trevor Oakes, Rod Dees, Ray Martinez and Danny Wilson. Lift Off is one of their own things. It's a little short sort of countdown to the songs. So the first song on here is a song called Flying Saucer Rock and Roll, which was recorded by a chap called Billy Lee Riley. It's great. It's just good old-fashioned rock and roll. Nothing wrong with this. And a good version of this. And I've found the original. Bet you're going to like it. Now this is a Jeb Stewart number. A little bit different from the original, but it is good. Loving Up a Storm, Jerry Lee Lewis song. More guitar on this than piano, but it's still a great version. Then we get Tweedledee by Laverne Baker. This is very in the same vein as the original, and Dave does a great vocal on that. Then we get a track called Yeah. Been done by quite a lot of people, but this is recorded by Frederick Jacobson, similar sort of start, proper rock and roll track. Then we get a version of Claudette, an Everly Brothers track, of course. That's alright. Then we get a track by a guy called Bill Johnson called Bobaloo. It's a really good song. I like that one. Then we got Put Me Down, which is another Jerry Lee Lewis song, but this is a better version of it. I like this. Then we got a track called Who Will Be the Next Fool, which was done by Charlie Rich, and this is a lot better version than Charlie Rich's. I love this. It's a bit more bluesy guitar. Then we got My Bucket's Got a Hole in It, which is a Hank Williams. Now, I'm not very keen on the Hank Williams version, but the Showaddywaddies is brilliant. It's my favourite track on this. Then we got Let's Go, Let's Go, Let's Go, which was a Hank ballad. It's alright. Nothing Shaking. Eddie Fontaine, same vein as Eddie Fontaine's version, really good. Then we have this track called Uranium Rock, which was done by Warren Smith. Never heard this song. I found it on YouTube, and I think Showaddywaddy do a better version. Then we get Apron Strings, which was really first done by Billy the Kid, but everyone knows the version that Cliff Richard done, and that still remains the best version of it. Not going to say too much about the Showaddywaddies. Then we get Slim Rhodes. Never heard of some of these people. Do What I Do. Better version than the original. Now, the next one, Drinking Scotch. Now, it's done by Jumpin' Gene Simmons. Now, I don't know. I mean, I know Gene Simmons has been making records from Kiss for years. I don't know if this is him or not. If you're a Kiss fan, a bigger Kiss fan than me, if this is the Gene Simmons, there can't be many Gene Simmons, but it's quite a good little track. It's all about drinking. And then we get a little track that was done by Sonny Burgess, and Roy Orbison covered it. Fire as well. It's a very early recording of Roy Orbison. He's done it on other albums, but this is the first recording. It's really good. Well, that was the last track. Well, you know, it's just great rock and roll songs, and I like this album because it's got songs that I'd never heard before. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.1. Time for a sip. Okay, then, coming at number 10, go to the 9th album from 1991, and it's called Jump, Boogie and Jive. We've got Romeo Challenger on here, Dave Bartram, Al James, Trevor Oakes, Ron Diaz, Ray Martinez and Danny Wilson. But the first track is one of theirs, called Jump, Boogie and Jive. I like this. It's a little rock and roll thing. Not bad at all. Next song is called Hang Up My Rock and Roll Shoes, which was done by Chuck Willis. This has certainly got a little bit more umph than the original. I like that version very much. Hurry Up, which is a Richie Valens song. It's a good version. Got no problem with that one. I'm Walking by Fats Domino. I really enjoy this. It's a really good version of that. Nobody Is. Now, when they write their own songs, they are pretty good, and this is a good one, and the harmonies on this is brilliant. Let me get an old classic from Valerie's called Telling Tales Out of School. This is more rocky than the original, and I like it. Then we get a little medley here. We got Red Hot, which was done by Emerson, a great version of this. And then Tutti Frutti. I love how they mix these two tracks up. Really, really good. Then we get a Bill Haley song, Rock a Beatin' Boogie. I love this song anyway, and Showaddywaddy do a fantastic version of it. Devil in Disguise, Elvis Presley, of course. Not a bad version of this song. I like this. Why is another Showaddywaddy original. Really nice song. Another Sad and Lonely Night, Bobby Fuller. Here we are again with a great interpretation of this song. Treat Her Right. I love this song. It's Head and the Traits. It's one of my favourites, rock and roll-y type songs, and I think they do a even better version than the original. The Shape I'm In, which is Johnny Ravesto. Nothing wrong with this. Very similar to the original. Then we get this little medley again. Remember That Then, The Earls, Pretty Little Angel Eyes, and I Wonder Why. But this is not the original. This is like a barbershop quartet a cappella sort of sounding track. Really, really good. And then we get a reprise of Jump Boogie Jive. Don't know why. Once again, great selection of songs. Ones you can sing along to because you know all the words. If into your music, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.2. Okay then, coming in at number 9, we're going to 1983 now, and the 8th album, Living Legends. So we've got Romeo Challenger, Malcolm Duke Allord on here, Dave Bartram, Russ Field, Buddy Gask, Al James, Trevor Oates, Ron Diaz. First one on here is a track called Who Put the Bomb in the Bomper Bomb Bomb. Great track from Barry Mann. I prefer this version, it's really good. Then we get a It's So Easy Buddy Holly track. It's okay, but I'll prefer Buddy's version. Then we get a song from Jerry Butler, I Don't Want to Dream Anymore. I don't like this version of this, to be quite honest. It's got bit 80s vibe, don't like it. Fooling Around with My Heart, nah, I'm not keen on that one. Things, Bobby Darin, it's not a bad version. You're My Soul and My Inspiration by the Righteous Brothers. I don't like the Righteous Brothers because they all sound the same. This one's alright. And then we got Little Old Wine Drinker Me, Charlie Walker. My favourite track on this album. It's far better than the original. This is more of a 12-bar blues version, and I like it. Then we get Goody Goody, which was Frankie Lyman, of course. Not a bad version of this song. Then we get Don't Bring Me Down, which is an Animals track. But as I think all I'll say about this one, give me the original version any day of the week. Sorry I Ran All the Way from the Impalas. I've certainly got some nice harmonies. It's one thing you can get from Showaddywaddy, some nice harmony. Then we get a real classic by Nat King Cole, Mona Lisa, and they do a different sort of version of it, but it's a great track. Then they do Run for Your Life, which is the Beatles. No, I don't like their version of it. Hey Little Girl, Adele Shannon, really good version of Adele Shannon song. Solid album as ever. There are a couple of things on here that I don't like, but still an excellent album. So I'm going to give this one an album ranking of 6.3. Okay, then coming in at number 8. Go to the 7th album, 1981, Good Times. So we've got Romeo Challenger on here, Duke Allard, Dave Bartram, Russ Field, Buddy Gask, Al James, Trevor Oates and Ron Diaz. Opens up with one of my favourite Showaddywaddy songs. It's a Babby Darin number, Multiplication. Great track. Then we get Pretty Little One, which is a Thurston Harris. Another of those songs that's got a little bit more oomph than the original. Alley Oop, which was done by the Hollywood Argyles. Never heard this track, didn't realise who it was, but I think it's a great version because I've heard them both. Footsteps, Steve Lawrence. This is a great version of this track, and it sounds very similar to the original. Then we got one of their own, and it's Gypsy Rose Lee. Now this is Showaddywaddy's tribute to Gypsy Rose Lee, who was an American burlesque entertainer and lady of the night striptease act. So they've paid a little bit of a tribute to her. It's not a bad little song. Then we got Good Time in Jimmy Jones, a good version, but I do prefer the original. Party Time, It's Alright, not one of their great efforts. Shake, which is a Sam Cooke number, a really good version of this. What the highlight of this is the drumming from Romeo, brilliant on it. Then we get a long version of Eddie Cochran's Come On Everybody, not a bad version of it. You Always Stand Me Up, one of their own. I don't mind this song, the drumming's good on it. Then we get Weekend, Eddie Cochran again. It's a good version. One of the ones that's missed out on Eddie Cochran. Don't Like Rock and Roll Anymore. Not my favourite song. It sounds like a Smokey song. It doesn't sound right. And then Good Times, which was a Jim Gimstrap and Blinky Williams This song rocks. It's better than the original. This album's got some better versions than the originals on it, and I like this album a lot. And it gives it an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, then coming in at number 7, got the 5th album now from 1979 called Crepes and Drapes. Classic lineup here: Romeo, Malcolm, Dave, Russ, Buddy, Al, Trevor and Rod. Opens up with Sweet Little Rock and Roller, a little bit different from Chuck Berry's version, but absolutely brilliant. Then a really great track, my favourite on this album, Sea Cruise, originally done by Frankie Ford. Lots of people have covered it, even Status Quo. It's a really good track, always like that track. Then we get a Bobby Vinton track, Just a Country Boy. It's alright. It's a country song and they've tried to rock and roll it and it doesn't sound right. Lost, one of their own songs. It's a bit dreary. Then we get a Sean Cassidy track called That's Rock and Roll. This is great. Sean Cassidy was a singer from the early 70s, and it's a great. I've heard the original of this and it's pretty good, and they do a great version. Twist and Shout, at the top notes. No one's done a bad version of this except Salt and Pepper. Then we get a Curtis Lee track, A Night at Daddy G's. Not far off the original. This is a great version. I love the guitar solo on this. Then we get another Richie Valens song, Come On Let's Go. Damn good version of this. Love that one. That's Alright With Me, Cole Porter. I prefer that Showaddywaddy's version. Really good. I Appreciate the Job. One of my favourite original songs by Showaddywaddy. It's a really good rocker. Then there's another of their originals, Win Your Heart, bit wishy-washy. And then a classic, Remember Then, from the Earls. Everyone knows this. Big hit for the band. Excellent track. Some really good versions on this. Again, I like this album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6.8. Okay, then coming in at number 6. Go to the 6th album from 1980. It's called Bright Lights. Romeo on here, Malcolm, Allred, Dave Bartram, Rusfield. The classic lineup of Showaddywaddy. First track on here is a brilliant song. It's one of my favourite songs. Originally done by Bob B. Sox and the Blue Jeans, and it's Why Do Lovers Break Each Other's Hearts. What I like about this is it's a brilliant version, but the backing vocals on this are brilliant. I love this song and they do a fantastic version. Only Love, I really like this song. You wouldn't have thought it was original Showaddywaddy's number. It's so 60s, and I love the guitar work on here. Then we get a brilliant version of the Marcel's Blue Moon. What can you say? It's just a brilliant song and it's a brilliant version. Then we get a Johnny Kids and Pirates number, I'll Never Let You Go, which is one of my favourite Johnny Kidd tracks. Everyone seems to go for Shaking All Over, but I think this is as good, and I do like their version. Wonderful Dream, now I don't know if this is one of theirs or not, but it's alright. Then we get a version of Do I Diddy, originally done by the Exciters, but really made famous by Manfred Mann. Certainly better than the Exciters version, but it's not on the same level as Manfred Mann's. Then we got a track called I Want to Take You Home. The Rising Suns did a version, and Graham Baggs. Again, much better version than the original. It has more depth, and I like this track. Cool Cool Cat, one of their own tracks. It's a really nice little rock and roll with a bit of reggae thrown in, pretty good. Then we get a track called Then You Came, which is from Dionne Warwick and the Spinners. Great version of it, like that. Then they have another of their own songs, and it's called Teen Canteen. It's got that story about a 50s sort of bar great stuff. Then we get It's Only Make Believe, Conway Twitty. Don't like this version because there's only one person that can sing this, and that's Conway Twitty. Always and Never, certainly not one of my favourite songs in here. It's alright. Again, we have a really good selection of songs on here. It's very hard to rank these, but some of the originals are better. And it's nice to see them doing covers of stuff that no one else has ever tried. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, time for a sip of coffee. Okay, coming in number 5, we go to their second album that was released in 1975. It's called Step 2. So it's Romeo Challenger, Malcolm Allard or Duke Allard, Dave Bartram, Russ Field, Buddy Gask, whose real name is William George Gask, Al James, Trevor Oakes and Ron Diaz. Opens up with a classic, 3 Steps to Heaven. Probably the best cover of a Eddie Cochran song about. If you know what I mean. Now, this is not to be confused with the Neil Diamond song. It's a rock and roll song written by the band, and it's pretty good. Sing On Louise, one of their own songs. Really, really good. Like that. Big Star, solid track. One of their own. I like their own. Chain Gang, which was a Sam Cooke version. Really good version of that song. Blue Jean Baby, another good song. I don't know much about if it's one of theirs because there's not much on this, but it's a pretty good song. Then we get a lovely little 2 tracks put together. It's lovely how they've done this. First you get 3 Stars, which was that Eddie Cochran tribute to Big Bopper, Ricky Valens and Buddy Holly, who died tragically in that plane crash. And what it does, it talks about Buddy Holly, and all of a sudden it goes into Rave On by Buddy Holly. Really nice how they've done that, and it's a great version. I love that track. The Latest Craze, now this is an original song. Love this. All that elements of rock and roll. You got a piano that sounds in the vein of Jerry Lee Lewis, that rolling piano, and it's fantastic. Smiling Eyes, gentle track, lovely harmonies, one of theirs. Then we got Rocker Boots. Now this is probably one of the best of their original Mute songs. Proper rock and roll, great guitar riffs and bass. Love that track. Sweet Music, yeah, really sweet music. A really good song. A lot of the bands at the time, like the Rubettes, were doing this sort of thing. It's got that feel to it. It's a really good song, an original song. Everybody on Your Feet. Very Dave Edmunds style song, and I like that track as well. A really good album. Lot of original material on here, plus some really good covers again. Very enjoyable album. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 4. Go to the 11th album now, 2006, and it's called I Love Rock and Roll. So on here we have got Romeo Challenger, Dave Bartram, Danny Wilson, Al James, Trevor Oakes and Ron Diaz. Now this one's a little bit different. These are more modern songs, not from the 50s and 60s, more from the 70s and 80s. And it opens up with a version of Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll, written by Alan Merrill, of course, who sadly died of COVID. I love this song. It's not as good as Joan's, but it's a brilliant track. Then we get one of my favourite tracks from the 70s by Chris Spedding, Motorbiking. They do a great version of this. I just love this song. Then we get another one of my favourite songs from the 70s, 2468 Motorway, Tom Robinson Band, another great song and a great version of this. Brilliant. Then we get a cover of one of my favourite number ones from the 1970s, and it's Hey Girl Don't Bother Him, the Tams. Really good version. Then they do a version of Mud's Tiger Feet. It's good, but it's certainly not nowhere near as good as Mud's version, of course. Then we get The Girl from New York City, which was a Beach Boys song, and I think this is a better version than the Beach Boys song. Brilliant. Then we get another great song from the 70s, Hank Mizzle's Jungle Rock. Love this song, and they do a great version of it. Then we get Spanish Stroll and My Best Friend's Girl from the Cars. Not a Patch on the Cars version, I'm afraid. Then we get a great song from Steve Gibbons. Remember Steve Gibbons? And this is Tulane. Close to the original. I love this song. Then we get a version of Canned Heat's Let's Work Together. I've heard some really bad versions of this, but this is as good as the original, and Brian Ferry's. Love it. And then we do get a Rubet song, which I love. I Can Do It. Now I love this song, and they do it. This is a brilliant version of it. Rubet, Showaddywaddy are all around at the same time. Then they do a version of Queen's Crazy Little Thing Called Love. It's a very, very good version of a song that I'm not particularly a fan of. Then we get Denis, Randy and the Rainbows, but made more famous by Blondie. Not as good as Blondie's, but better than the original. Jeepster, T-Rex. Love this song anyway. I love this version. I love the other version that Fish did, and of course, but the best version, of course, is Mark's. See My Baby Drive Wizard. No, not a Patch on Wizards. Then we get a song by the Jags. Back on My Hand. Not a bad version, but the Jags is better. Rock This Town from the Stray Cats. Not a Patch on the Stray Cats, I'm afraid. I Hear You Knocking. I've already spoke about this, and it's alright. Then we got Old Habits, Die Hard, a Mick Jagger song that he done from the remake of Alfie. It's alright. And then the worst track they ever did, it's a song they did for England World Cup 2006. It's called Hey England, Here We Come. Basically, they ruined one of their own songs, Hey Rock and Roll. Awful, awful song. So this album, I like it. It's got lots of songs that I grew up on, and they do some good songs. Some are really good, one or two that are not, but and especially that Hey England is absolutely crap. But the rest of the album is pretty solid, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, coming in at lost my place, number 3. It's alright. Let me, technical stuff here. Be with you in a minute. It's just frozen. Okay, here we go. Found it. So coming in at number 3, we have the 4th album from 1977, and it is Red Star. So it's Romeo Challenger, Duke Allred, Dave Bartram, Russ Field, Buddy Gask, Al James, Trevor Oates and Rod Deas. Opens up with a great track. I love this track. I love Chubby Checker's version, but I do like Dancing Party, their version of it. Big hit for them, of course. 68, Teenage Cream. It's a great track. One of theirs. Opening riff is brilliant. Then we get one of their big hits, You Got What It Takes, Marv Johnson, and I think their version is terrific. And then we got Lucy Jane, another really good song. I love the harmonica on that, one of theirs. All Above Your Head. It's got a country feel to it. It's all right. Sweet Georgia. Now this is Malcolm Holcomb and Jared Tyler. Certainly better than the original. It's got a little bit more bite. Then they do another Eddie Cochran track, Something Else, really good. Then we have got You've Got Personality, a great Lloyd Price track. I do prefer the original though. Then this is again, one of their best tracks. It's Feeling. It's one of their heaviest tracks they've ever recorded. There's some great guitar playing on there. The riffs are good. The drumming's brilliant, and it's my favourite track on the album. Then they do a great version of the Hollies, Listen to Me. Terrific track. When, much better than the original by the Kaling Twins. Maybe, Maybe, Maybe. Very smoky, and I like that. I like smoky anyway, and I think that's really good. One of theirs. Swan Song, probably the weakest track on the album. Not very keen on it. One of theirs. Another really good album. Got a couple of their hits on it. Really good covers. Solid album all round. So I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. So coming in at number 2, their third album from 1976. Trocado. It's the usual lineup: Romeo, Malcolm, Dave, Russ, Buddy, Al, Trevor and Rod. Title track is first. Trocado, really nice track, got a really nice beat to it, one of their own. Then my second favourite original song by Showaddywaddy, Looking Back. Brilliant. Paint a Picture of You, never been a big fan of this song. I don't like the ballady strings on there. You know, don't do stuff like that. Then we got a Gene Vincent song, Say Mama, great version of this Gene Vincent song. Go Johnny Go, Chuck Berry, really good version of that. Heavenly, it's alright. Rock and Roll Music, Chuck Berry again, really good. One of their own then, Record Machine, love the drums and bass in this, really good. Take Me in Your Arms, which is a Kim Weston song, but made more famous by the Doobie Brothers, of course. This is a good version of it, but my favourite will always be the Doobie Brothers version of it. Then they do another Buddy Holly, and it's probably the worst cover they've done of a Buddy Holly song, Heartbeat. Don't like their version. Then we got Sweet and Innocent, It's Alright, one of their own. Then we get this thing called The Young Indian Brave. It's one of their own. It sounds like Running Bear. It's probably why I like it. Again, I love this album. It's got some great originals on here. It's got some great covers. One or two covers that they didn't quite work for them. But I still love this album. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay then. My number 1 album. It's an album that I've had on and off for years. I had it on a cassette, lost it, but I went and brought this on CD, and it's their debut album from 1974. I remember when this came out and I loved it. I mean, we loved it. It was played a lot in our house because it's rock and roll, and it's just called Showaddywaddy. So it's the original lineup, the one that won at New Faces. So it's Romeo, Malcolm, Dave, Russ, Buddy, Al James and Trevor Oakes and Rod Diaz. Opens up with probably my favourite song by Showaddywaddy, Hey Rock and Roll. I remember seeing them do this on New Faces. I would have been what, 74, 8, 9? It just blew me away. It was all, and you know, my dad was a Teddy boy, so he liked it. Then we get a version of Guzman and Martinez's Boney Maroney. Johnny Burdett's done it, Bill Haley. I love this. I love the line, I've got a girl called Boney Maroney, she is thin as macaroni. Then we've got a John Layton song, Johnny Remember Me. Now there's a great film about Joe Meek on Netflix. It's called Telstar. It tells the story of Joe Meek and the house hand where they recorded it. I remember when they were filming this bit, the backing vocals were all in the bathroom. It's really good, and it's a great version of this John Layton song. Then we get a great version of Everly Brothers' Temptation. Great version. Rock and Roll Lady. again, it's an original song, but it's written, if it's come straight out of the 50s, brilliant. King of the Jive, I love this. It's an original song. Again, should have been, you think it would have been written in 1956. Then The Party, great, good old-fashioned roll, some great riffs, one of their own. QTO, brilliant song. It's got a nice bass line, and I do love the guitar solo on this. Roller Coaster, that double drum, brilliant. I just love double drums. Wizard, the Glitter Band, Adam the Ants, it's really good. Don't Turn Your Back on Me Baby, not one of my favourites. Too much Righteous Brothers for me, and I don't like it. Windows, very Buddy Holly, the plinky guitars, really, really good again. And Gloria Women, the guitar work on this is fantastic. Original song, great track. This is a very iconic album cover as well. I remember this in the shops. I mean, it's a song, it's an album that's just got so many memories. I love this album, and I've got a very, very special place in my heart because it goes right back to my childhood. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So there we go. Hope you like that, Gary. I know you're a big fan of Showaddywaddy, and I've really enjoyed doing this for two reasons. A, I like Showaddywaddy, and I just wanted to cheer you up a bit, Gary. I will catch up with you soon, I promise. But enjoy this today, and I will see you soon, mate. Anyway, that's all for today because it's Wednesday. But I'll be back tomorrow, and we've got a really good Battle of the Debuts for you. I'm going to do a bit of thrash metal. We're going to do 2 of the big 4. We've done 2 of the big 4. We've done Metallica and Megadeth. Now we're going to go to the other 2 in that big 4, Slayer and Anthrax. And tomorrow's pick and mix, we're going to have a wander down the sidewalk. So we're going to look at the top 10 singles in the United States on the 12th of January 1981. And don't forget, tomorrow night, folks, it's live stream night. So have a good day. We've got blue skies and sunshine today, so it's going to be a nice cool day. We'll actually get out today. Didn't get out at all yesterday. Rocky just refused to go out. So have a good day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.